The topics and opinions expressed in the following show are solely those of the host and their guests and not those of W4CY Radio, its employees, or affiliates. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to W4CY Radio or its employees or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing W4CY Radio.
Are you a songwriter? Are you looking to turn your songwriting passion into a full-time gig? Whether you are just at the start of your songwriting journey or a seasoned industry professional, this show is made for you. Welcome to the Songwriter Show, bringing together songwriting news, interviews, and community. Now, welcome your host, Sarantos.
Good evening, everyone. This is Sarantos, and I welcome you back this Tuesday night, just like I do every Tuesday night. Thank you for joining us for the Songwriter Show. I'm your host, Sarantos, a solo music artist who's been writing lyrics for as long as I can remember. Words are so important to me, and that's why I'm thrilled to host this show. I strongly believe that every song is a story. The Songwriter Show is broadcast live on #1 ranked W4CY Radio with listeners in all 206 countries in the world and every state in America. The station is licensed with ASCAP, BMI, CSAC, Sound Exchange, and has many partnerships throughout the music industry, including iHeartRadio and exposure to over 300 million listeners. Tonight's first guest is Jess C. Jess is a songwriter-producer from Ashburn, Virginia, who's now based in LA. Her eclectic taste in music aids her in her current working for different companies to write music around their clients' lyrics. When she's not enhancing other people's artistic visions or working on her own music, she can be found making comedic, music-related videos for her YouTube channel. Welcome to the show, Jess. How are you doing tonight?
I'm doing great. How about you?
I'm doing great. You know, I've checked out your stuff, and I've very interesting. You know, 6 years ago when I started, I got to be honest, I didn't have a clue musically, and all I did was lyrics. So I always kind of looked for someone like you who could like help out with the music stuff. And it's, you know, partnerships like that. I just saw the Elton John movie, and I think it's so great to be able to find a fit like that.
Yeah. Oh, I actually haven't seen the Elton John movie yet. I'm waiting for a time where I have a free second so I can just like absorb everything and have like a natural emotional reaction to it rather than just like be stressed, go see it, and then go back to work. You know what I mean? Yeah,
I know exactly what you mean. No, I think partnerships are, you know, such an underrated thing. And
yeah, definitely.
You know, people try to do everything themselves, or they buy like beats, or they do all sorts of stuff. But I think, tell us a little bit about what got you going on your path.
Yeah, mine was actually really interesting because I've always been very fascinated with music production ever since I was really young. Like I'd listen to the radio and I wouldn't actually think about the lyrics a lot. I would think more like, I wonder how they put that piano in that speaker, not that speaker. And I never really had someone in my hometown that I could talk to about that. So I just went on doing choir and musical theater. But then I actually found some people up in Boston who were very interested in it. I got talking to them. And thanks to my mom, who became a big fan of Gavin DeGraw, she did a lot of research. And she was like, you know, Gavin DeGraw went to a school called Berklee College of Music. You want to go check that out, Jess? So just for
small
fun.
Small
school. I surprised me. We didn't know anything about Berklee before my mom became a huge fan of Gavin DeGraw. So we went up to Boston. I fell in love with the school. And even though I've been doing choir for so many years, I felt like it would be bad for myself if I didn't at least try to explore this part of my music love, if that makes any sense at all.
Sure.
So yeah, I applied. Thankfully, I got in. And I've been working with a lot of amazing people since then. And I totally get what you mean. Like, people underestimate the power of collaboration. I just love collaborating with other people.
Yeah. Now, I have a really dumb question for you. I've heard of the school you're talking about, but am I an idiot? Isn't it in Berkeley in California? Or do they have two schools? Because you're like talking about Boston, and I'm like, wait a minute, am I like losing it?
No, I feel so bad because there is a Berkeley in California, but there's also the full name is Berklee College of Music up in Boston, and it's a completely separate thing. And it's actually for lack of a better term, it kind of became a meme amongst all the students there because we always get mixed up with California, Berkeley.
So there's no, there's a Berkeley College in California, but there's no Berkeley Music School in California too?
At least not that I'm aware of. I kind of, it's funny because like when my mom first told me about the college, I was half expecting that we'd be going to California. And then she started making trips, started planning for a trip to Boston. I got real confused. Then I found out even the spelling of Berkeley up in Boston is different. Rather than the EY ending of Berkeley in California, it actually is spelled Berklee up in Boston.
You know what? Now that you say that, because I've checked out their stuff and I've done, some courses and some videos and all that. And you're right. It is spelled different.
Yeah.
So I totally learned something tonight that I didn't know. Wow.
I'm glad.
Yeah. So was your family musical at all?
Oh my, I have cousins who can play the bass. I have a cousin who can play the drums. They're very much like a music-loving family, but no one really has a career in music, if that makes sense.
Yeah. So do you consider yourself is producing your thing, like the whole picture? Or do you consider yourself a piano player, guitarist, like multi-instrumentalist? Tell me a little bit about what you consider yourself.
I definitely consider myself more like a songwriter producer because I really like being there from beginning all the way to end. Okay.
And do you play instruments? Do you do it all on a DAW, on a computer?
Yeah, so actually the first instrument that I had lessons in was piano. So I have a MIDI keyboard with me and I do it all, and I do most of my work in a DAW. Sometimes it bounces between Logic and Ableton and Pro Tools, depending on the day, really. But actually, funny you mentioned that because I actually have this one job here in California where like I teach on the side. And it's kind of gotten me practicing other instruments. So I'm slowly and surely adding on a bass, guitar, and drums. I'm not like an expert in any means, but like it's slowly getting there.
No, it's awesome to hear your story because, like I said, 6 years ago, I'd have to hire a guitarist to do what I wanted, and I started taking songwriter lessons. And Jai Josephs is great. He taught me how to play the piano, songwrite, do my own chords, and now I progressed. And even though we all like to pretend in a DAW that we play every single instrument, it's completely different than doing it live when you can really jam and you can really. Yeah. So I'm kind of like you. I feel comfortable playing the piano live, but the guitar and drums, I mean, you screw around, but I don't consider those. And there's some people that can. You think of Prince, you think of some people were crazy good at any instrument they touched, but yeah, that's not me.
Yes, no. I remember feeling very self-conscious whenever I see people who would like play so many instruments, but so I just be kind of like, I don't know how to jump in, so I just kind of like do really bad scatting.
Yeah. But you know what? Everyone's kind of full of it too, because not master of everything and is master of none.
Right.
So, yeah. Now, do you? One of the things I think that's really underappreciated, and we don't talk that much on the show, probably like we should, is mixing, mastering. That's a whole other engineering. That stuff is a whole other art. Is that something you do also?
I've definitely touched on it. I think I'm more. I have experience with engineering, mixing, and mastering, and I try to be there up until that point. But I'm definitely more on the creative side of things. If that makes any sense.
Yeah, it does. Yeah. No, and like I said, I mean, there's people that all they do is master or mix, and that is definitely an art. And you could tell. I've tried working with several people, and you could tell when people try to say they do everything and they really don't.
Right.
Yeah. Tell us a little bit about your influences musically. Who influenced you?
Mine's kind of weird, only because like my mom, she's growing up, she always made compilation CDs, and she told me and my brother years later that she did that to try and find out what kind of genres of music we'd be into. And of course, my dad wanted to add music into those too. So I listened to all different sorts of things, from like Johnny Mathis, 12th of Never, to Kool and the Gang, to Louis Armstrong, to the whole Les Miserables track, to even J-Lo. And so it's kind of hard to pinpoint. But if I had to pick like two guys that I really looked up to, I would have to it would have to be David Foster and Ray Charles, which is funny because I'm not making music that sounds like either one of them.
Yeah. And when you look at starting a song, do you start with melody? Do you start with a certain instrument? Obviously you start with the music thing, but tell us a little bit about your process.
I think for me, it used to start with just me getting a notebook and then writing the very first things that come to my head. So if I wake up in the morning and I just think of the word like sun, I just start writing all about the sun randomly. And then it's reached the point where I have a notebook full of random scribbles and then random hiccups of ideas that I just collect. So it's reached the point where my starting point is looking at that notebook full of ideas and then jump starting from there.
Yeah, I think someone put me onto that a couple years ago, and I have an iPhone, so I use Apple Notes, and I cannot tell you, I have so many lyrical ideas, new song ideas. I have titles. I have notes for I write book chapters too and poems. So I can't imagine what my life was like without it.
Right?
And it just, anytime you're kind of stuck a little bit or you're like, what am I in the mood for? You just look at these title ideas or lyric ideas and like you could hear it in a movie. You could read a book. You could just be like working out. And what a great invention. I don't know whoever figured that out, but I've been writing since I was a little kid, and I had stacks and stacks of paper, and what a different process,
Right. I even I feel bad because now I need it's reached the point where I had to get a hard drive to start collecting everything. Yes. So now it's like the daunting task of having to look through every single little thing that you put on there.
You know what? Hang in there. I did it, and it was complete torture because, I used to write at my dad's restaurant. I had napkins. I had anything I could find. But once you digitize things, and then I could never write if it wasn't on a paper before. And over the last couple of years, I've gotten used to it, and I prefer it. I just open up an iPhone, and in fact, if you dictate, you can get your ideas out even quicker.
Right. Yeah.
And just hang in there, but it's totally going to be worth it.
Mm-hmm, yeah. Voice memos is a great app that I use a lot.
Yes, absolutely, especially for melody.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about you and your career. Is this something you do full time? Do you have a day job and you do this on the side? Where are you at?
So right now, I do it as a living because I actually work for two companies where the clients will send in lyrics or poems to the website that they want music that they want. Let me start that sentence one more time. I lost my train of thought along the way.
Okay. I've been there.
So, I work for these two companies where clients will send in lyrics or poems, and then these companies have a team of composers and producers to write music around them. So I'm basically on that team of composers and producers that receive these lyrics and then write the music around it. And so that's the main thing that I'm doing. But I've been told I'm a workaholic, so I actually have two daytime jobs. One that's teaching and one that's music publishing. I kind of use the teaching job to help me practice playing on real instruments, and then the music publishing job, I'm keeping my feet wet in the music business part of things, and I have a steady income coming in when the main thing that I'm doing is kind of running low, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. And I think that's great because, again, if you're signed with a publisher and you have to work X hours a day or give them 5 songs a week or whatever, if that keeps a paycheck coming, I think that's a great way to support yourself and put that money into marketing and making it. Yeah. And when you say you teach music, I'm assuming you teach. Is it music? What do you teach?
So it's actually this fun place called Kid Row. And basically, have you ever had Gymboree classes?
Yeah. I haven't had them, but I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. So it's kind of the same concept, except they're trying to introduce rock music into the kids' lives. So each different class is their own rock band. And at the end of each season, we kind of have a rock show where all the kids play on the instruments and the teachers jam out with them. So it's more like getting the kids starting with music, I think, is the right way to describe it.
I think that's wonderful. Seeing all the music cut from school programs, and I think it's just such a terrible thing. And, old-time musicians are like, well, that's not a live show. They're just playing off a laptop and no one's playing an instrument. I see both sides of it. I went to the B96 Bash a couple of days ago, and I appreciate all forms of art. I love Ed Sheeran sitting up there by himself, but and you don't know what path you're going to go down. I mean, you might do all these different things, but I just think it's such a shame that if a kid is an interest in guitar or piano or the ukulele, they can't do it in school. It's just so sad.
It's crazy. And especially like if they feel like they want, I was definitely lucky that I have someone like my mom, because I was definitely in the position where like we had a fantastic flourishing music program, but being into music production, I didn't even know there was a word for it in my hometown. So I'm really fortunate that I have the most supportive mother in the entire world, who constantly is like, oh, why don't you try this? Why don't you try this? And sure. I totally get what you mean, like supporting kids constantly to at least, not even to fulfill their musical dreams, but to at least like have an appreciation for it.
Yeah, absolutely. Before we get to your song and your website and all that, I like to ask everybody about scams. Tell us one that you've fallen prey to, or one you want to warn us about.
Ooh, scam. Thankfully, I haven't really fallen into any scams. I think it's so bad because like you said scam and my mind thought of spam. And the first thing that I thought of was the people who constantly friend you on Facebook and then send you a Facebook message saying like, hey, follow my YouTube page. And I don't even know the person. And I get like floods of those messages constantly. And that's like, I don't know if that has anything to do with what you were asking, but that was like the first thing that came to my head.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about your website. Where can people buy your music? Where can they listen to it? How can they get a hold of you?
So right now I'm mainly functioning on my Instagram page and my YouTube channel. So they can find me at instagram.com/jquencfads. And that's JCUENC fads, because sometimes people spell it KWENK. And they can find me at youtube.com/Jessica Fadullon. And then my music is currently on iTunes and Bandcamp.
Wonderful. And tell us a little bit about this song we're going to hear. What was the inspiration behind it?
This started out as a school assignment when I was in college. It was an Ableton chorus, and we basically just had to write a new song. And so I had like the basic idea for the background done. And so I was like thinking, okay, what do I write about? And then I thought about all those songs that kind of have a fun pop vibe to it. But then when you look at the lyrics, it's kind of like a sad song. So I thought, okay, what can I be sad about right now? And I was like, well, college kids, they have an existential crisis here and there. So I'll write about the existential crisis that I've had about like, am I doing the right thing? Should I be comparing myself to other people? And then it was actually one of those things that's been sitting in my hard drive for 2 years now. And I just got back into it this year and fixed it up for my current existential crisis.
Okay, wonderful. Now, before we let you go and listen to your song, pizza or cheeseburger? What do you prefer?
Oh, don't do this to me. No.
I'm going to do it.
No. Okay. If I had to pick, if I had to pick one. Ooh, pizza. It has to be pizza. Oh, Lord.
All right. Have you had Chicago pizza?
No, not, wait. Okay. I'm having a flashback. Yes, I have. I remember having deep dish pizza like years and years ago, and it was the best thing I've ever tasted in my entire life.
All right. Well, next time you get to Chicago, let me know, and we'll take you somewhere for pizza.
Oh, absolutely. Yes.
All right, Jess. It was a pleasure having you on the show, and we're going to listen to your song right now.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Oh, you're welcome. Bye.
I'll be right back. Gotta get a few things done. But first, it's probably gonna help if I'm drunk, huh? Okay.
I'm color coding conversations that tend to flow in disarray. So when I drown in old temptations, I know where to put the guilt away. Crimson red for wedding themes, neon blue for open doors. They're gliding on their angel dreams, while every demon's got me floored. Where did my young days go? Where have they gone? Can you tell me where the good times go when you treat them wrong? Is there a way to do it over again? I gotta do it over again. I gotta do it over again. I gotta do it over again. Is there a way to do it over again? I gotta do it over again. I gotta do it over again. I gotta do it over again. Caffeinated, comatose, fill my mornings in a blaze, reaching highs and overdose, just to feel okay. I used to be wired with ambitions, fired up ignitions, probing every vein I had. But my blood turned sour with addictions, alien afflictions. If only I could take it all back. And I gotta do it over again. 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 Is there a way to do it over again? I gotta do it over again. I gotta do it over again. I gotta do it over again. Who's the one who said that I'd be on the rise? We'll call them up and tell them all about their lies. Just 'cause a little kid shows promise in a glance, that doesn't mean you fuel her up with an empty chance. Do it over again. I gotta do it over again. I gotta do it over again. I gotta do it over again. Is there a way to do it over again? I gotta do it over again. I gotta do it over again. I gotta do it over
And now, welcome this week's special guest.
Well, I want to thank Jess for that wonderful song. And up next, we have Yves Gravel. We've had Yves on the show a different time. He's hailing from Montreal. His sound is edgy, distilled, and raw. He first picked up the guitar at age 8, and at the age of 14, found a kindred spirit in Leonard Cohen. We've talked to him in the past, and I'm so excited to talk to him again tonight. Yves, welcome to the Songwriter Show. How are you doing, my friend?
Good. How are you, Santos?
I'm doing great, and I know you got some new music coming out soon, and
yes,
can't wait to hear it at the end. I have not checked it out yet, and
awesome.
Can't wait. So what's been going on since we last talked to you? How you doing?
Oh, well, a lot. It's almost like when I talked to you, I think just over a year ago or a year ago, some of those ideas of making an album and gathering people around was just starting. And now you're talking to me 3 days after I just finished recording a full LP. So there's been quite a bit of things going on, to say the least. So I just released, like you said, the song we're going to hear at the end of the show is the first single that I'm just releasing ahead of the LP, which will be released in September.
Wonderful. So anything different in your songwriting process over last year? Anything you've learned that you want to share with the listeners?
The song, when I talked to you last year, I would say probably like 80-90% of the raw songwriting was already done. So obviously my last year have been more about learning arrangements, working with people, having to dive into myself a little bit more into like recording tools, not to record the actual album, but just to record samples. I had to record demos for grants, to make some grant applications. So the learning really has been more from the technical project management side of things, I would say, than the songwriting. And it's awesome that we had Jessica right in front of me because, as you know, my thing is all about collaboration, and I think we touched on that the last time I was on your show, is that I have limited skills. I recognize that, and it's in no way I see an obstacle for anyone to do whatever they want to do. And in this case, I say I'm going to do an album, and I gather the right people around me, and I think we ended up with a pretty awesome product.
And you know what? It's so true that some people are scared to collaborate. They're scared to admit they don't know as much as the next person, whether it's lyric writing, whether it's the guitar, whether it's mixing. And I think I commend you that you recognize that, because even though we're all working on our craft and trying to get better, there's absolutely nothing wrong with collaborating. Yeah,
and our roles, I see that I think some people see almost that as a clash, and I think it's the reason why I like collaboration. I think it's there's a lot less emotion and a lot less of maybe ego battles going on than when you're in a band where everybody wants to pull in different ways. So in this case, it's definitely my project and definitely my thing. I'm the one paying for everything. I'm the one paying these people. So there's no argument as to which direction we're going. But that's from the project management side of things. From the artistic side of things, I think the collaboration that's what I do. I do the songwriting. A couple of songs, there was some collaboration for the songwritings, but for the most part, I do all the songwritings, and I make arrangement as far which instrument I think I would like to hear on this song. And then if I feel like hearing a trumpet, I talk to my trumpet player, or I shouldn't say my trumpet player, to a trumpet player that happens to be part of the project. And I became very good at humming, and that kind of became a bit of a joke, because when you don't play a trumpet or the violin or the piano, and you try to express an idea for them to build on, the only tool you have is humming. So pretty much through a lot of humming and gesture and do that, or do that again. It's just enough to give them a very good idea of what I'm looking for. And another thing I think I learned through this process of collaboration, maybe ever so this time than other times, is, it's awesome to write something yourself, and it's awesome to, record and then hear your own song. But I'm getting a lot more of a high, or a lot more fun listening to other people, or listening to a song where other peoples are playing my song, and you know that they got it. They understood what you wanted. They understood what you were after without you even having to micromanage. And to me, when I listen to the album and I get to a guitar solo or I get to a violin part, I'm amazed at all this anxiety of, are they going to be able to understand what I want out of them? And just say, oh my God, I can't believe I was anxious about that. I could not have hummed it better. They just take an idea and they roll with it. And to me, that's, like I say, when I listen to the album, I barely hear myself. I just enjoy so much what people have been able to do with a very small idea I give them, and they just ran with it.
Yeah. They've, in the past, before I could write my own chord charts and play all these instruments and do more stuff myself, you're right. I was very reliant on other people, and there are some crazy talented people out there that you can just give them an idea, tell them, I want this to be happy, and here's the melody, and Again, eventually you learn, major chord's happy, minor chord's sad, and you learn more of the nuances. But, man, some people are just so talented, and they just make your life a lot easier.
And that's what's great about collaboration is, I think from a songwriter, sometimes, especially if the other person is also a songwriter, you might think, well, they're not going to want to collaborate, or maybe they're not going to be as enthused because they have their own thing going. But you have some people also that enjoy the process of taking somebody's idea and building on it, or professional studio recording artists is a good example. These people are madly skilled, and maybe songwriting is, maybe they do it on the side, but maybe that's not their thing. Their thing is, tell me what you want, and I'll deliver it in 10 minutes. And it's awesome to have all these people that have different interests, meaning some people in songwriting, some people like playing live, some people like writing songs for other people. You put all that together, and when everybody is in the same spirit of collaboration, working towards the same goal, I think that's what happened in this album. All the people are awesome, and I think final product, something I'm very proud of.
Great. Now, tell me what the biggest mistake you've made in the last year since we've talked.
Oh, the biggest mistake really was, again, in the spirit of collaboration, is to having a lot of angst about, you have all these ideas and you're working with these people and you don't want to micromanage, but at the same time, you want to make sure that your vision is the one that's being executed. And, you stress about it, and you give like 3 pages of notes to someone just for a little part, and you meet with them for 5 minutes, and they're like, hey, that thing you were talking about, is that what you meant? And then they play it, and you're like, geez, this whole time, really, I just had to give them the chord, give them the spirit of the idea, and they went with it. So my regret was probably to have knowing that all the talent that was around me, that I had collected around me to surround me, that it was going to be flawless, and it was really not flawless. Everything went very smooth. So I think if I were doing another project, I certainly would not fall in this trap of a little bit of micromanaging, as far as not the micromanaging the songwriting part of it, but micromanaging emotion as far as making sure that everything will go as planned and everything will go as I wish it will. And mostly what happened is it went 1,000 times better than what I expected.
Yeah.
So that's, I wouldn't say a mistake, but certainly something that's going to make me a better, if I ever go back in studio, it's going to make me a little bit more efficient and focusing my emotion on things that are maybe needs more attention than worrying about things that I cannot control. Meaning I'm collaborating, so you have to let the people do their things. And of course, when you're in studio, you have the luxury of recording 10 different parts and cherry pick what you like. So
the best one. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And,
any new restaurants open up in Montreal that I should visit?
I'm based in Calgary.
Oh, I thought you were in Montreal.
I'm from Montreal, but I've been in Calgary for almost 15 years.
Okay.
15 years now. But I go to Montreal once in a while, but not too familiar with what's going on there. But
how about Calgary?
As far as Calgary,
new restaurants in Calgary?
New restaurants. We've been going to a little bit of a recession here. Alberta is where Calgary is located. Is I don't want to say entirely reliant on oil, but it's the main thing. So I can say there's been a lot of economically a lot of awesome things popping up as far as new things, but we're kind of in recovery mode now. But new restaurants, I can't say that I can think of. There's only a new restaurant that I've discovered that have been there for a long time. But yes.
Okay. What read any good books lately?
I'm a little bit when it comes to reading, I'm one of those readers that reads like 2 chapters of one book and then 2 chapters of another book. So I always have like 3 or 4 going at the same time. So I always have usually a Leonard Cohen novel going on. So right now I'm going through Beautiful Loser once again, probably for the 100th time. I read that 1 chapter at a time, and it's a lot because if you've, for any of your listeners who've ever read Beautiful Loser, it's 1 chapter, and then the other chapter is just going in a completely different direction. So it's one of those books that's kind of, you can read 1 chapter at a time, and it does the job. So there's Beautiful Loser, and there's always a few poetry books, again, that I read little by little, and a little bit of self-help book, too. Always usually on the topic of anxiety management, and this kind of thing.
Okay. Any advice to somebody who decided today they're going to start the music business as a songwriter? Any advice you'd give them?
Really, aside from, of course, you need a certain base, meaning you can, the day that you decide to become a songwriter, to do an album. But as soon as you've got something that you feel is worth putting out there, the one thing really I just can't handle hearing is this whole thing of I'm not ready, or next year, or once school is over, or after I'm married. And it's kind of similar when people talk having a child, and it's always like only once I'm 35 and I have a house and then we all know how this story goes. Like, yeah. Life ends and you haven't done any of these things. So Same thing with me. So it came to a point where organically it became so obvious that it was the time. It was like a big sign flashing in my face saying, it's time. And I had all those reasons not to do it. It's expensive. It's time consuming and yada, yada, yada. And then all the self-doubt. And is it that good? Is it ready? Is it going to be a waste of time, a waste of energy? And then the more you do it, the more you realize that you're doing it for yourself. I think the good thing about the music business today, almost I say the good thing, is being that making a living or, having relying on music to make a living of is, it's almost like a unicorn kind of situation. So you start with the idea that you're doing it for yourself anyway. And if you want to do it, do it. And again, I'm not a great musician. I'm not a great guitar player. My singing I would qualify as mediocre, but I recognize that. I filled in the holes with musicians that are way more talented than me, and that allowed me to execute my vision. So it's just, if you have a vision, you do it. And how and when and with who, you have to start for these things to fall into places. And that's pretty much what happened with this album. Yeah.
So tell us a little bit again about your website, where people can buy your music, where can they check out this new album?
Yeah, so the website is fairly new, from a few months ago. So it's yvesandthetalent.com, all one word. And on there's everything from a couple of sample songs and merchandise you can buy. And there's the tickets, the album that can be pre-purchased for September. And I also have a big release, party release show in Calgary for September 20th. But I think for now the best way to follow what's happening and my activities is on Instagram, which I keep very up to date. And it's you just have to search for Yves and the Talent. And if there's something that needs to be seen on my website or on YouTube or wherever, I'll usually have the link there.
Okay, and tell us about this new song before we hear it now. Tell us the inspiration last minute here.
Well, the song is called Easy, and it's one of those songs that was written in a certain mood and for a certain purpose, as far as the purpose I wanted to give it for myself. And the feedback I've been having is completely different. It was written in a very somber tone, a moment of my life. It's not very, I wouldn't say that it's pessimistic. You'll see in the lyrics that there is a positive message in it, but the way the song is being received and heard is being on the completely, I heard things like uplifting, positive, and fun to listen to, and kind of fun to listen in your car when you're on your way to work. And I'm like, oh, I thought it'd be the song people would listen to after a bowl of wine in the dark. So it's been very interesting that, especially if you listen to the chorus, you can see that you can apply that to any sort of situation, whether it's for an uplifting message or take it word for word if it apply to your life. But it's been awesome to see how it's being received compared to how it was intended to be received.
Wonderful.
And that you have no control over, obviously.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, Yves. It was an absolute pleasure to have you on the show again. And I can't wait to hear your song because I've not checked it out yet. So have a wonderful night.
That's exciting. Okay, Sorentos. Thank you very much.
All right, Yves. Have a great night. And here we go.
Troubled but pretty, makes me forget my ABC. It ain't easy, down on one knee. You've never seen all of me. She ain't gonna brawl, fight against this wall. She's gonna stay put and stand tall. It ain't close at all, trying to break this fall, hoping no one has to crawl. And pretty, makes me forget my ABC. It ain't easy, from land to sea. I will travel from A to Z. Who said easy?
And it definitely sounded awesome, Eve. So I definitely appreciate it. I could definitely hear all the hard work you put into that, and it's a great song, man. So we have a few minutes left here. So again, I want to thank everyone for listening in. I appreciate you spending every Tuesday night with me. To any listeners out there who may be artists, if you wish to be on the Songwriter Show, I invite you to just shoot me an email or check out our website. I hope your own unique story gets heard around the world. My name is Sarantos. Please join me every Tuesday night to hear other amazing artists share their fascinating behind-the-scenes stories right here at the Songwriter Show. And I'm going to leave you tonight with a song I wrote that's called You Should Be With Me. This is a song I released that's also a slow rock ballad, and it's a little bit sad, but I think you definitely get the point across when you listen to the vocals and the heart-wrenching vocals. Have a great night.
You sit under the tree wondering why you're not getting any sun. Congested eyes, you relive the evening. My words echo in your ear. They were not ever a lie, just a wish of mine. But you never trusted me like you love for romantic movies. You should be with me. You should be with me. Not in. Cannot fall asleep. My promise has become alive. Often I think I'm simply unlovable for you. Lying next to him is easy, but I long to speak freely. How much do I want to risk? Is it life worth a kiss? You should be. You should be with me. You should be. no, I'm not. But there's always a space in my heart for something more. I'm madly in love with you. You should be with me. Not him. Not him.
Thank you for listening to The Songwriter Show. To keep the momentum going, head over to www.songwritershow.com and join our free music community of artists, songwriters, and producers. That's www.songwritershow.com.